Hello! Thank you for taking your time to listen to my speech named Being a Strong Student After 2020. This is a motivational speech aimed at students who had a rough experience last year because of the pandemic. Please enjoy. My 1 year of staying at our home. That year was the year 2020 where COVID-19 spread throughout the world. It was the year where a lot of people died, lost their jobs, separated from their families, and unable to go outside. 2020 was one of the worst years that has happened throughout history. In this speech, I wanted to share my experiences from the past year and what I can say to those people that were left hopeless today in 2021. Firstly, here is my life story as a student in 2020 while in quarantine. Back when we celebrated New Year's Eve for 2020, I had a wish. I wished that I could survive through college. That wish was a new one, because in that year, I'm going to be a college student. It made me feel excited and nervous at the same time. But at that time, I didn't know that something was coming. Something that will make things harder for me than it already is. COVID-19. Around March, I watched the news about the virus spreading throughout the world. Then a quarantine happened around April and I had a rough time. School hasn't started yet, but I already felt the pressure I will feel if college continued like this. Everyone can only interact with others through their phones and no one is allowed to go outside. I got very sad because I was hoping for a fun summer in 2020. While everyone is in quarantine, I was watching the news and I got horrified. Thousands of people are confirmed infected every day. It was like watching a zombie apocalypse happen throughout the world. Starting from then, I started wearing a face mask every time I go outside. Around October, college started while everyone is in their houses. I honestly didn't like it because it made me stare at my computer screen all day, every day, but it was for the sake of my own education. Nobody can teach us but ourselves, and it was like a battlefield. I hoped that all of us can do our best at trying to surpass the subjects that we couldn't quite cope with. For my health condition, luckily, I also didn't get sick throughout the whole year. And here I am, thanking our Almighty God for making me healthy like I've always been. My family also didn't get affected, which I thanked God for. Putting that aside, what I've been truly wanting to discuss in my speech is the other people that got affected from this virus. I figured that since I'm alright now, I should take my time to discuss about other people's experiences. This is for them. To be honest, I get it. I also found continuing classes in a pandemic quite ridiculous. Having to continuously catch up to requirements at home is such a difficult task, and our country's slow internet connection is adding difficulty to that even more. But for me, I did not thought of quitting. I stayed strong and found ways to overcome my challenges. For me, that's what going to school should have always been. That's why I found it shocking and, quite honestly, disappointing seeing some students quit and not even considering going back to school again. These students state reasons like not being confident about their IQ, how their other friends are smarter than they are, and not being able to solve the first problem on calculus. But that doesn't mean that you should stop on moving forward. You've worked hard to reach this point in your life. And don't think about things like, oh, but I've only copied answers from my classmates sitting next to me. Forget about that one calculus problem that you've tried several hours to solve. Forget about how your other friends and classmates are better and smarter than you are. Going to school isn't all about competition and comparison. It's just becomes a part of it. Going to school is mainly for learning something new, gaining new experiences, and realize more things that you can reflect to. An advice that I could give as a fellow college student is to follow what your mind is telling you the good and the right thing to do. Imagine yourself being able to do the right things all the time. You'll have little to no regrets in everything that you do. We are now college students, and we have the ability to think what is right and what is wrong. It is our laziness that makes us decide to skip things that we know that we're supposed to do, but we decided not to do. This pandemic amplified that effect, so let us try minimizing that. The next thing we must do is that we must try relying on ourselves. We all have that hidden talent inside all of us, and some students doesn't notice it. I found it really bad based on my experience to continually rely on someone. It made me clueless about what things to do, and it made me not able to grow up. I'm sure some college students can relate to this, especially the ones that were treated like royalty. I know that a lot of my fellow college students got overwhelmed because of this pandemic. I'm not an expert in giving advices since I'm just a college student myself, with more things left for me to experience and learn. But since I have this time to make a speech about my fellow college students for my fellow college students, I cannot pass this opportunity to express my own words towards the events that have happened last year. I hope this speech can serve as a wake-up call for those students who have given up on reaching their dreams and hopefully can light them up again. Lastly, all I'd like to say is that as long as we do the right thing and never give up, it is never too late to survive and eventually reach our wildest dreams. That concludes my speech. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.